Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So it's Cypher Sigma. It's the weekend. It's obviously movie review, as you can tell from this from the title or the thumbnail that you've already clicked on. So yes, this is a movie review of the new Zac Efron movie, The Iron Claw. So anybody who doesn't know, this is about a wrestling family, the Elron, the Elric family. Apologies to checking my notes there. So the Elric Von, whatever, not Von Trapp, but yeah. Starts off with the dad, and it leads down to Zac Efron, who's one of the children of this. And as the trailer kind of gives away, they have ups and they have downs, and this basically chronicles their kind of life and stuff that is related to it. Obviously, it has a very look and a little bit feel like The Wrestler, the movie that came out quite a little while ago now, and stuff, but it's very different. It is very focused specifically on this family. There are a few little bits thrown in there, but this is predominantly where the story goes. You get to see it all from, as I say, the movie does start with a dad and him fighting, and you don't really get to see him fight. It fast forwards quite a lot of years to see the kids, and it's more focused about the set of brothers and what they go through. And there is there is a mention of a kind of a curse, I'll use it like that they have for this family. And it was okay. It was. I'm not saying it. I preferred the wrestling movie. I was looking forward just because I do like wrestling movies. The trailer does give away a lot of the film. I would give it that. There are a few twists and turns, and that you kind of, if you're any person who watches any type of movies, you can kind of see it just before it happens. So it kind of removes the shock value a little bit on some of the incidences. But it was all right. It was worth a watch, as I say. I think maybe the overall tone and how it was shot didn't necessarily appeal to me as much as I thought it would be. But there we go. So let's slap the spoiler warning up. Let me get my notes to make sure I try and pronounce it. So the spoiler warning's up, so we'll go into it. So as I said, the story starts. You have Fitz Elric, so he is the dad, and obviously his wife Dolores. Fitz has a wrestling match. He wins it, and he basically is talking to his wife. They live in a motorhome. And says, I want to be I want to be the world champion. This is what it's going to be. It's going to get his money and everything. The wife is very religious. She says, Jesus help me and stuff like this, because he does something stupid and buys or kind of rents a new car because they want to give off this image. Currently she has 2 boys with her, and she's pregnant with the 3rd one. And then you fast forward, you don't really get a bit of time. It's Zac Efron waking up, and then you see him training. What you discover is this is a family of 5 boys. You only ever see 4. You see a picture of all of them. Unfortunately, the young lad died, and it never really is mentioned too much from that point. So he would have been the eldest. And then you have the 4 brothers. You have Zac Efron's character Kevin, who is the oldest. Then you have Kerry. He is a Olympian, or trying out for the discus. You have David, who's the kind of cowboy, the young pretty boy, very good on the microphone. And then Mike, who's the youngest. And it chronicles their basically life of these 4 brothers. Not all of them want to get into business. As I say, one's an Olympian, one's a young lad, Mikey, wants to get into music, and it kind of has them growing up. And the dad is very ruthless with them and how he is, and very you have to do everything. I didn't get the title because I was screwed over. This it's down to you. And they kind of go back to this point that there was a curse, and you find out a little bit later on as Zac Efron meets a woman, Pam, and then they fall in love, and obviously, as you've seen from the thing, they get married and have kids. And basically that he believes is a curse, and the curse is the Elric curse, is that his dad, that isn't his birth name, he used his nan's name, the Elric, and since then, because their family have kind of had a lot of bad things happen, that has passed through to them, and anybody that has the Elric name, bad stuff happens. And this is kind of where the movie goes down to. You go through you do have Zac Efron, he does meet Pam, and they do get together and have a baby, and that's all good, and there is a good ending that is linked to that. But it is and then maybe it's the frame of mind. There is, as this movie then goes on, you learn that obviously Kevin, obviously Zac Efron's character, he is kind of a bit of the main focus. He's the big butch guy, far, dedicated, does what his dad says. David, the next one down, he kind of gets introduced as the movie goes on. He is a wrestler, he's young, he's very good on a microphone, he's a lot better than Zac Efron's character on the microphone and stuff like that, and that pays dividends, and the two of them are doing quite well in wrestling. As this is going on, Kerry, he's an Olympian, he's going to go off to the Olympics, and then due to set of events, America don't compete, so he is basically dropped, comes home, and his dad decides, what you're going to do, why don't you join your brothers, and then you have the three of them pushing it. Now, Zac Efron's character is always leading up to the main event. He was going to be the prize one, and as his dad said, he has a favourite. He has his kids ranked, and the rankings can change. And obviously, this is how it goes. Zac Efron is leading up there. He has a preliminary fight with a champion, gets slammed outside of the ring on concrete, and it hurts him. It hurts him quite bad, and his dad doesn't like the fact that his son took too long to get up off the mat. It showed weakness in his eyes. But David obviously came in the ring afterwards to help his brother out, and was very good on the mic, and that kind of sets the spiral on. He then becomes the prominent son for the next bit of the film. The dad puts a lot of pressure on him. One thing leads to another, and unfortunately, due to being overworked, David dies. I'm not going to tell you how, why, or what happens. I'll try and keep it out. So the family have lost two boys now. They lost one when they're young, which isn't mentioned, and they lose David, the second youngest one. This then leads down to David when he's leading up to basically fighting the champion. So one of the brothers gets the choice. So it's Kerry or Kevin, basically. So Zac Efron's Kevin, and then the guy, I think from the Bear TV series, he is Kerry. He gets chosen to be it. He wins the title, brings the family back, and then unfortunately has a motorcycle accident, which then leads to another relevant. He can't wrestle. He kind of goes out of the main picture, and you are left with Kevin. Now, obviously, there's only one son wrestling. I need someone. Mike, who is in, you see him, he's into music, he's not into wrestling, gets forced into it, and then unfortunately, due to his first match, he has an incident and damages his collar, goes into surgery, ends up having this rare condition, goes into a coma, and that basically kind of screws him over. More stuff happens to the youngest, to Mike, who is obviously the youngest, who comes into it, and unfortunately he ends up killing himself. Third brother down, as you can see. As then time goes on, obviously you've got the two brothers there. Kerry, who has the injury, he manages to come back. He goes to work for the WWE. Why Zac Efron's character is more focused on his family. He's so much in pain of everything, and he's kind of running the business. Unfortunately, bad things happen for Kerry, and Kerry kills himself again now, and obviously it leaves Zac Efron the only brother alone. Very sad, very leads up to the end. As I say, he realises running the business that maybe his dad wasn't giving him the money they want, and it to him it was kind of like a business. And then kind of Zac Efron sells the business and decides that him and his wife need to go grow up, have a farm and do kind of what they were doing. That's what they're doing. It shows you a few pictures of what they are now, and the family are regarded really high in wrestling. Now, I've not seen any of these members in wrestling. Maybe I was into wrestling too late. They mentioned back like the early to mid 80s, which I was only a little kid, so I probably wouldn't have even seen anything then. But yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be the first one I've used. I'm not actually going to give this a rating because I don't know how to give a rating. I mean, it was a good movie, the way it was shot. The acting was really good. There was no cheesy bits or something. It just, and I have to probably emphasise this, and the reason why I'm not, it is just so almost depressing. Like, yes, Zac Efron, obviously, he meets Pam, they fall in love, they have a child, they have children, and then they go on to better things. That's brilliant, but it feels such a small part. It's like Zac, he meets Pam, oh yeah, my family, I love my family, and all stuff like this. And it's, the dad's a hard ass, he's just being mean to all of them, they're all beating themselves up, getting cut, getting bruised, getting to the point of like one of them ends up dying. And it's just so negative and so, all across the whole kind of thing. Like, it really, I'm not saying it wasn't a great movie, because maybe that was the whole point, but it it didn't put me in a good place mentally. I've coming out of it, in all fairness, it made me feel really bad. You know, it made me pity kind of Zac Efron's character and everything he went through, because it was not a nice way to live. As much, you know, he was a lad that was just doing everything he'd been grown up and taught to be, and basically how his dad treated his brothers more or less meant they all killed it themselves for one reason or another, and it is not a great feeling. In a way, it makes me feel a bit like Oppenheimer, but this is probably even worse, just because of the personal connections that you have with this. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of negativity going around, and I'm saying maybe if you are a vulnerable person mentally, or if you do like wrestling, but you know you can go to a dark place, maybe I would avoid this movie. Personally, this is just my opinion. As I say, you know, I'm not one to say I was in the greatest place when I went into this film, but I come out of it and was like, that was dark. I had to go and watch something a bit more bright, a bit more cheery afterwards. You know, because I was like, yeah, it takes you to some dark places, and it's not nice that sort of stuff goes on. I get that there is an underlying happiness, but the happiness and the positivity is so small in comparison to this negativity. But anyway, that has been my review for The Iron Claw. Have you seen this movie? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I've been Cypher Sigma Screen Time. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you want to do, and I shall see you in the next one.